Maya Johnson walked down the quiet street with her two best friends, Jessica and Tamara. The three girls were laughing about something their math teacher had said during class. Maya carried her violin case in one hand and her backpack over her shoulder. She was only 15 years old, but already one of the best students at Lincoln High School. The afternoon sun was warm on their faces as they walked through the nice neighborhood near their school. Maya lived on the other side of town, but she took the bus to Lincoln High because it had the best music program in the city. She had been playing violin for 8 years and dreamed of getting a scholarship to study music in college. The girls were almost at the bus stop when they heard a car door slam behind them. Maya turned around and saw a police car parked at the curb. A tall white police officer was walking toward them. His name tag said Officer Bradley. He had short gray hair and cold blue eyes that made Maya feel uncomfortable. Officer Bradley stopped right in front of the three girls. He put his hands on his belt where his gun was hanging. Maya could smell cigarettes on his breath when he spoke. "What are you girls doing in this neighborhood?" he asked in a harsh voice. Maya looked confused. "We are just walking to the bus stop," she said politely. "We go to school here at Lincoln High." Officer Bradley looked at them with suspicion. "This is a nice area," he said. "You girls don't look like you belong here. What are you really doing?" Jessica stepped forward. "Sir, we really do go to school here. We can show you our student ID cards if you want." The officer ignored Jessica and stared directly at Maya. Something about her seemed to make him angry. Maybe it was the way she stood up straight and looked him in the eyes. Maybe it was her confident voice. Whatever it was, Officer Bradley did not like it. "I think you girls are lying," he said. "You probably came here to steal something or cause trouble." Maya felt her heart start to beat faster. She had never been in trouble with police before. Her parents had always taught her to be respectful to officers, but this man was being mean for no reason. "Sir, we are not doing anything wrong," Maya said calmly. "We have the right to walk on public streets. We are just trying to get to the bus stop." Those words made Officer Bradley very angry. His face turned red and his eyes got narrow. He stepped closer to Maya until he was standing right in front of her. "Don't you talk back to me, girl," he said in a loud voice. "I decide what rights you have around here." People walking on the street started to notice what was happening. An old lady stopped to watch from across the street. A man walking his dog slowed down to see what the police officer was doing. Maya tried to stay calm, even though she was getting scared. "Please, officer," she said. "We did not do anything wrong. Can we just go catch our bus?" But Officer Bradley was not listening anymore. He was angry that this young black girl was not afraid of him. He was used to people being scared when he talked to them. Maya's calm voice and steady eyes made him feel like she was challenging his authority. "You are under arrest," he shouted suddenly. For what, Maya asked. She was shocked and confused. For disturbing the peace and resisting arrest, Officer Bradley said, even though Maya had not resisted anything. Before Maya could say another word, Officer Bradley grabbed her left arm. He twisted it hard behind her back and pushed her toward his police car. Maya cried out in pain as he bent her arm in a direction it was not supposed to go. "Please, you are hurting me," Maya said with tears starting to form in her eyes. But Officer Bradley only twisted harder. He was much bigger and stronger than the 15-year-old girl. Maya heard Jessica and Tamara screaming for him to stop. She heard other people yelling too. Then Maya heard a sound that made her stomach feel sick. It was a loud crack like when someone breaks a stick in half. But this sound came from her own arm. The pain hit Maya like lightning. She screamed louder than she had ever screamed in her life. Her arm felt like it was on fire. Officer Bradley let go of her, and she fell to the ground holding her arm against her chest. "My arm is broken," she cried. "You broke my arm." Jessica and Tamara were crying and trying to help their friend. The old lady across the street was already calling 911 on her phone. The man with the dog was taking pictures with his cell phone. Officer Bradley looked around and saw all the people watching. He realized he had made a big mistake, but instead of helping Maya, he decided to lie. "She attacked me," he said loudly so everyone could hear. This girl tried to hit me, so I had to defend myself. Maya was lying on the sidewalk crying and holding her broken arm. She could not believe what was happening. Jessica knelt down beside her best friend and held her hand. An ambulance arrived 5 minutes later. The paramedics were very gentle as they put Maya on a stretcher. Her arm was bent in a strange way, and her face was pale from pain. As the ambulance drove away, Officer Bradley was already calling his supervisor. He needed to make sure his story was believed before anyone started asking questions. Maya looked out the back window of the ambulance and saw Officer Bradley talking to other police officers who had arrived. She wondered if they would believe his lies or if anyone would believe her truth. Her violin case was still lying on the sidewalk where she had dropped it. The case was closed, but Maya worried that her violin might be broken too. It had been a gift from her father when she was 7 years old. At the hospital, the doctors took x-rays of Maya's arm. The bone was broken in 2 places. She would need surgery and months of physical therapy. Her dreams of playing violin in the school concert were over. Maya's mother, Sarah, arrived at the hospital 20 minutes later. When she saw her daughter lying in the hospital bed with her arm in a temporary cast, she started crying. Maya told her mother everything that had happened, how Officer Bradley had stopped them for no reason, how he had gotten angry when she tried to explain their rights, how he had twisted her arm until it broke. Sarah held her daughter's good hand and promised that somehow they would get justice, but deep down she was scared. She had heard stories about police officers who hurt innocent people and never got in trouble for it. The worst part was still to come. Maya did not know that Officer Bradley was already writing a false report that would blame her for everything that had happened. Dr. Martinez looked at the X-ray images on his computer screen and shook his head sadly. Maya Johnson's arm was broken in 2 places. The fractures were clean breaks that would require surgery to repair properly. He had been working as an emergency room doctor for 15 years, and he knew the difference between an accidental injury and one caused by excessive force. Maya lay on the hospital bed trying not to cry. The pain medication made her feel dizzy, but her arm still hurt terribly. Her mother, Sarah, sat beside the bed holding Maya's good hand. Sarah's eyes were red from crying, and she kept asking the nurses when the doctor would come talk to them. When Dr. Martinez entered the room, he spoke in a gentle voice. "Maya, you have 2 broken bones in your arm," he explained. "We will need to do surgery tomorrow morning to put metal plates in your arm to help the bones heal properly." "How long will it take to heal?" Sarah asked. "At least 3 months," Dr. Martinez said. "Maybe longer. Maya will need physical therapy after the surgery. Her arm may never be exactly the same as it was before." Maya's heart sank when she heard those words. She thought about her violin sitting in its case at home. She thought about the spring concert that was only 2 months away. She had been practicing a beautiful solo piece for weeks. "Will I be able to play violin again?" Maya asked with tears in her eyes. Dr. Martinez looked uncomfortable. "We will have to wait and see," he said. "The most important thing right now is to fix the broken bones." After Dr. Martinez left the room, Sarah called Maya's father, Marcus. He was at his boxing gym training some young fighters when his phone rang. When Sarah told him what had happened, Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "I'm coming to the hospital right now," Marcus said. His voice was shaking with anger. While Maya was in the hospital, Officer Bradley was at the police station writing his report about what had happened. But his report was full of lies. He wrote that Maya had been acting suspicious in the neighborhood. He wrote that she had used bad language and threatened him. He wrote that she had tried to hit him and that he had only used necessary force to protect himself. Captain Morrison was Officer Bradley's supervisor. He was a heavy man with gray hair who had been working for the police department for 30 years. When Officer Bradley brought him the report, Captain Morrison read it carefully. "Are you sure this is what happened?" Captain Morrison asked. "Yes, sir," Officer Bradley said. "That girl was out of control. I had to stop her before she hurt someone." Captain Morrison knew that Officer Bradley had problems with his temper. This was not the first time someone had complained about Bradley using too much force. But Captain Morrison also knew that it was easier to protect his officers than to investigate them properly. "I'll handle this," Captain Morrison said. "Don't talk to anyone about what happened today." Captain Morrison made some phone calls after Officer Bradley left his office. He called the business owners on the street where Maya was hurt. He told them that their security cameras might be needed for a police investigation. Strangely, many of those cameras stopped working the next day. He also sent other police officers to talk to the people who had watched Officer Bradley break Maya's arm. The old lady who had called 911 was visited by two officers who told her that she might have seen things wrong. They said that sometimes witnesses remember things differently than they really happened. The man who had taken pictures with his phone was told that he could get in trouble for interfering with police business. He was scared and deleted the pictures from his phone. Jessica and Tamara were Maya's best friends who had seen everything. Two police officers came to their school the next day. The officers pulled the girls out of class and took them to the principal's office. "We need to talk to you about what happened yesterday," one officer said. Jessica was brave and told the truth. She said that Maya had done nothing wrong and that Officer Bradley had hurt her for no reason. "Are you sure that's what you saw?" the officer asked. "Sometimes when people are scared, they don't remember things correctly." Tamara was younger and got frightened when the police officer kept asking her the same questions over and over. Finally, she said that maybe she had not seen everything clearly. "It's better if you girls don't talk about this anymore," the officer said. "You don't want to get your friend Maya in more trouble, do you?" At the hospital, Maya's family was learning how much the system was working against them. A police detective came to Maya's room and told Sarah that Maya was being charged with assaulting a police officer. "That's impossible," Sarah said. "Maya is the one who got hurt." The detective showed Sarah the police report that Officer Bradley had written. According to the report, Maya had been the one who started the trouble. "If you try to make problems for Officer Bradley," the detective said, "your daughter could go to jail. She's only 15, but we can charge her as an adult for attacking a police officer." Sarah felt scared and confused. She did not understand how her daughter could be blamed for getting her own arm broken. But she was afraid that if she fought back, Maya would get in even more trouble. The detective left some papers on Maya's hospital table. The papers said that Maya was not allowed to go near the place where she had been hurt. She was also not allowed to talk to any reporters or post anything on social media about what had happened. Maya looked at her mother with frightened eyes. "Why are they lying about me?" she asked. Sarah did not know what to say. She had always taught Maya that police officers were there to help people. Now she realized that sometimes the people who were supposed to protect children were the ones who hurt them instead. That night, Maya could not sleep, even though the pain medication made her very tired. Her arm hurt and her heart hurt too. She wondered if anyone would ever believe her side of the story. In his office, Captain Morrison was already planning how to make this problem go away. He had done it before when his officers got in trouble. The key was to make sure that everyone believed Officer Bradley's story instead of believing a 15-year-old girl. But Captain Morrison did not know that Maya's father, Marcus Johnson, was not like other parents. Marcus had fought in boxing rings all over the world, and he was not afraid of anyone. When Marcus found out what was happening to his daughter, he would not let anyone scare him into staying quiet. Marcus Johnson was hitting the heavy bag when his phone rang. Sweat dripped down his face as he threw powerful punches that made the bag swing back and forth. The young fighters at his gym stopped their training to watch their coach work out. Even at 42 years old, Marcus still moved like the champion boxer he used to be. The gym went quiet when Marcus answered his phone. Everyone could tell something was wrong by the way his face changed. His dark eyes filled with anger and his huge hands started shaking. Marcus Johnson had been the heavyweight boxing champion of the world for 3 years. He had fought the toughest men on the planet. But nothing had ever made him feel the way he felt when Sarah told him what happened to Maya. "I'm coming to the hospital right now," Marcus said into the phone. His voice was so quiet that it scared the young boxers more than if he had been yelling. Marcus drove to the hospital faster than he should have. His mind kept thinking about Maya lying in a hospital bed with a broken arm. He remembered teaching her how to ride a bike when she was 6 years old. He remembered how proud he felt when she played violin at her first school concert. Maya was his little girl, and someone had hurt her. When Marcus walked into Maya's hospital room, he looked like a giant. He was 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighed 220 pounds of solid muscle. But when he saw Maya lying in the bed with her arm in a cast, his eyes filled with tears. "Daddy," Maya said when she saw him. Her voice was weak from the pain medication. Marcus sat down carefully on the edge of the bed and gently touched Maya's face. "I'm here, baby girl," he said softly. "Daddy's here now." Sarah told Marcus everything that had happened. She showed him the police report that said Maya had attacked Officer Bradley. She told him how the detective had threatened to put Maya in jail if they caused any trouble. As Marcus listened to the story, his jaw got tighter and tighter. His hands turned into fists without him realizing it. The muscles in his neck stood out like thick ropes. Every instinct in his body told him to find Officer Bradley and make him pay for what he had done. Marcus had grown up in a tough neighborhood where problems were solved with violence. Before he became famous for boxing, he had been in many street fights. He knew he could find Officer Bradley and hurt him badly. It would be easy for someone with Marcus's skills to make the officer suffer the way Maya was suffering. But then Marcus looked at Maya's scared face and remembered who he really was now. He was not a street fighter anymore. He was a father and a role model for young people. Maya needed him to be smart, not angry. "Maya, honey," Marcus said in a gentle voice, "tell me exactly what happened. Don't leave out anything." Maya told her father the whole story. How Officer Bradley had stopped them for no reason. How he had gotten angry when she tried to explain they were just going to the bus stop. How he had twisted her arm until it broke while she begged him to stop. Marcus listened to every word. His heart broke when Maya started crying again while telling the story. But he also felt proud of his daughter. Even though she was hurt and scared, Maya was telling the truth with courage. After Maya finished talking, Marcus stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the city where he had grown up, where he had learned to fight, where he had become a champion. Now his daughter needed him to fight a different kind of battle. Sarah walked over and stood beside her husband. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. "They're saying Maya attacked that officer. They want to put her in jail." Marcus put his arm around Sarah's shoulders. "No," he said quietly. "They're not going to hurt our daughter anymore, but we're going to do this the right way." "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. Marcus turned away from the window and looked at his family. "I mean, we're going to use everything I learned as a champion to win this fight, but we're going to fight it in the courtroom, not on the street." Marcus had friends everywhere because of his boxing career. He knew lawyers and reporters and business people. He had money saved from his championship fights. Most importantly, he had learned that the best way to beat a strong opponent was to be smarter, not just stronger. That night after Maya fell asleep, Marcus made some phone calls. The first call was to his old friend David Chen, who was now one of the best lawyers in the city. David had watched many of Marcus's fights, and they had stayed friends after Marcus retired from boxing. "David, I need your help," Marcus said when his friend answered the phone. After Marcus explained what happened to Maya, David was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "Marcus, this is going to be a hard fight," he said. "Police officers have a lot of protection when they hurt people. The system is set up to believe them instead of believing victims." "I don't care how hard it is," Marcus said. "They hurt my little girl and then they lie about it. I won't let them get away with that." David agreed to take the case for free because he believed in fighting for justice. He also knew that Marcus Johnson was not the kind of man who gave up when things got difficult. The next morning, Marcus went back to his gym. The young fighters could tell their coach was different. He was still calm and patient when he taught them, but there was something new in his eyes. It was the same look he used to get before his biggest championship fights. Marcus gathered all the fighters around him after training was finished. "I want you all to remember something," he said. "Being strong doesn't mean hurting people who can't fight back. Real strength means protecting people who need help. That's what champions do." One of the young boxers raised his hand. "Coach, what happened to Maya?" he asked. Marcus looked at all the young faces staring at him. Some of the fighters were white, some were black, some were Hispanic, but they all looked up to Marcus like he was their father. Someone hurt Maya because they thought they could get away with it, Marcus said. But they were wrong. We're going to show them that you can't hurt innocent people without consequences. The fighters nodded their heads. They had learned more than boxing from Marcus Johnson. They had learned about courage and standing up for what was right. That afternoon, Marcus and David Chen met at the lawyer's office to plan their strategy. David explained that they would need evidence and witnesses to prove that Officer Bradley was lying. The police will try to protect their officer, David said. They'll make it hard for us to find the truth. Marcus smiled for the first time since Maya got hurt. Then they don't know who they're dealing with, he said. I didn't become champion by giving up when things got tough. David Chen's law office was filled with papers and files about Maya's case. David was a small man with glasses who looked very different from his friend Marcus Johnson. But the two men worked together perfectly. David was smart about the law, and Marcus knew how to talk to people and make them want to help. The first thing they needed to do was find out more about Officer Bradley. David used his computer to search for information about complaints against the officer. What he found made both men angry. Marcus, look at this, David said, pointing at his computer screen. Marcus leaned over to see what David had discovered. Officer Bradley had been complained about 15 times in the past 5 years. Most of the complaints came from young black and Hispanic people who said Bradley had used too much force or treated them badly for no reason. How is this man still a police officer? Marcus asked. David shook his head sadly. The police department always said there wasn't enough evidence to prove the complaints. They protected Bradley every time someone tried to get him in trouble. This means Maya wasn't the first person Bradley hurt, Marcus said. His voice was getting angry again. No, she wasn't, David replied. But Maya's case might be different. We have witnesses this time. We have her friends who saw what really happened. David and Marcus drove to Lincoln High School to talk to Jessica and Tamara. The two girls were scared because police officers had already visited them and told them not to talk about what they saw. Principal Williams let David and Marcus use his office to talk to the girls privately. Jessica was 15 years old like Maya. She had long black hair and wore glasses. Tamara was 14 with short curly hair and a shy personality. Girls, we know you're scared, David said in a kind voice. But Maya needs your help to tell the truth about what happened. Jessica looked at Marcus and recognized him from pictures she had seen. You're Maya's dad, she said. You used to be the boxing champion. That's right, Marcus said. Maya is my daughter, and someone hurt her badly. I need to know exactly what you saw that day. Jessica took a deep breath and told them everything. She said Maya had been polite to Officer Bradley from the beginning. She said the officer got angry for no reason when Maya asked why they were being stopped. She said Maya never tried to hit the officer or fight back when he grabbed her. I heard her arm break, Tamara said quietly. It was the worst sound I ever heard. Maya was crying and begging him to stop, but he kept twisting her arm. David wrote down everything the girl said. Then he asked them if they would be willing to tell their story in court, even if it meant the police might try to scare them again. Jessica looked scared, but she nodded her head. Maya is my best friend, she said. I can't let them lie about her. Tamara was more frightened. My mom said I shouldn't get involved, she said. She's worried the police will cause trouble for our family. Marcus knelt down so he could look Tamara in the eyes. He spoke in the same gentle voice he used when he was teaching young boxers who were afraid to fight. Tamara, he said, I understand why you're scared. But sometimes we have to be brave to help our friends. I promise that David and I will protect you and your family. We won't let anyone hurt you for telling the truth. Tamara looked at Marcus's kind face and felt safer. She had heard about Marcus Johnson her whole life. Everyone in their neighborhood knew he was a good man who helped people. If he promised to protect her family, she believed he would keep his word. Okay, she said quietly. I'll help Maya. The next step was to find other witnesses who had seen what happened. David hired a private investigator named Robert Martinez to help them. Robert was a former police detective who now worked to help people who had been hurt by bad cops. Robert went to the street where Maya was hurt and knocked on doors. He talked to people who lived in the apartments and houses nearby. Many people were afraid to talk because they didn't trust anyone connected to the police. But when Robert mentioned that he was working with Marcus Johnson, some people were willing to help. Mrs. Patterson was an old white lady who lived in an apartment across the street from where Maya was hurt. She was 78 years old and had lived in the same apartment for 20 years. When Robert knocked on her door, she was afraid to open it. "Who is it?" she asked through the door. "My name is Robert Martinez. I'm investigating what happened to the young girl who was hurt by the police officer." Mrs. Patterson opened the door slowly. She was a small woman with white hair and kind blue eyes. But Robert could see that she was scared. "I saw what happened," she said quietly. "That poor child didn't do anything wrong. The police officer hurt her for no reason." Robert felt excited. This was the break they needed. Mrs. Patterson had seen everything from her apartment window. Better yet, she had recorded some of what happened on her cell phone. "I was worried about those young girls," Mrs. Patterson explained. "The police officer looked angry, and I thought he might hurt them. So I started recording with my phone in case something bad happened." "Can I see the video?" Robert asked. Mrs. Patterson showed Robert the video on her phone. It was not perfect because she had been far away, but it clearly showed Officer Bradley grabbing Maya and twisting her arm. It showed Maya falling to the ground and crying. Most importantly, it showed that Maya never tried to fight back or hurt the officer. "This video could save Maya's case," Robert said. "Will you let us use it to help her?" Mrs. Patterson looked sad. "I wanted to help before," she said, "but 2 police officers came to my apartment and told me I shouldn't get involved. They said I might have seen things wrong because I'm old." Robert understood why Mrs. Patterson was scared. The police had tried to intimidate her just like they had intimidated Maya's friends. But Robert also knew that Mrs. Patterson was their best hope for proving the truth. "Mrs. Patterson," Robert said, "I work with Marcus Johnson. He used to be the heavyweight champion of the world. Now he's trying to get justice for his daughter. He's a good man who fights for people who can't fight for themselves." Mrs. Patterson had heard of Marcus Johnson. She remembered watching his fights on television with her late husband. She knew Marcus was famous for being honest and helping people in the community. "If Mr. Johnson promises to protect me," Mrs. Patterson said, "then I'll help his daughter." That evening, Robert brought Mrs. Patterson to David's law office to meet Marcus. When the old lady saw how big and strong Marcus was, she felt a little scared. But when Marcus spoke to her, his voice was gentle and respectful. "Mrs. Patterson," Marcus said, "thank you for being brave enough to help Maya. I know you're scared, but I promise that no one will hurt you for doing the right thing." Mrs. Patterson looked into Marcus's eyes and saw the same kindness she had seen in her husband's eyes many years ago. She decided to trust him. "I have the video on my phone," she said. "You can use it to help your daughter." Marcus felt like crying when he saw the video. It clearly showed that Maya had been telling the truth about everything. Officer Bradley had hurt his daughter for no reason and then lied about it. Now they had witnesses and video evidence. David began preparing their case for court. But they all knew the fight was just beginning. The police department would do everything they could to protect Officer Bradley and destroy Maya's family. Marcus went home that night and sat beside Maya's bed. She was sleeping peacefully for the first time since the incident. Her arm was still in a cast, but the doctor said it was healing well. "Baby girl," Marcus whispered, "Daddy found people who will help us tell the truth. We're going to make sure that officer can never hurt another child like he hurt you." David Chen called a meeting with all the local news reporters. He had worked with many of them before on other important cases. The meeting was held at Marcus Johnson's boxing gym because Marcus wanted to show everyone that he was fighting this battle the right way. The gym was full of reporters from television stations and newspapers. They all knew who Marcus Johnson was because he had been famous for many years. Some of them had covered his championship fights when he was younger. Marcus stood in front of the group wearing a simple black suit. He looked calm and serious as he began to speak. "My daughter Maya is 15 years old," he said. "She is a good student who plays violin and has never been in trouble with the law. 3 weeks ago, a police officer broke her arm for no reason. Then he lied about what happened and said Maya attacked him." The reporters listened carefully as Marcus told Maya's story. Some of them had children of their own and felt angry when they heard what had happened to Maya. David Chen stood up next to Marcus and spoke to the reporters. "We have evidence that proves Maya Johnson is telling the truth," he said. "We have witnesses who saw what really happened, and we have video that shows Officer Bradley used excessive force against an innocent child." The reporters got excited when they heard about video evidence. Video was always the best proof when someone claimed police officers had done something wrong. Mrs. Patterson sat in the front row looking nervous. She had never talked to reporters before, and she was afraid of being on television. But Marcus had promised to protect her, and she trusted him. David played the video from Mrs. Patterson's phone on a big screen so everyone could see it clearly. The room went silent as the reporters watched Officer Bradley grab Maya and twist her arm. They could hear Maya crying and begging him to stop. They could see that she never tried to fight back or hurt the officer. When the video ended, many of the reporters looked shocked and angry. They had seen videos of police violence before, but it was always hard to watch when the victim was a child. Patricia Williams was a reporter from Channel 7 News. She had covered many stories about police officers hurting innocent people. She raised her hand to ask Marcus a question. "Mr. Johnson," she said, "how did you feel when you first saw this video?" Marcus was quiet for a moment before he answered. He had been practicing what to say, but it was still hard to talk about his daughter being hurt. "I felt the same way any father would feel," he said. "I wanted to find that officer and make him pay for what he did to my little girl. But then I remembered that I'm not just Maya's father. I'm also someone that young people look up to. I had to show them the right way to fight injustice." Another reporter asked David about Officer Bradley's history of complaints. "Officer Bradley has been complained about 15 times in 5 years, David said. "The police department has protected him every time. Maya is not his first victim, but we're going to make sure she's his last." After the press conference, the video was shown on every television news program in the city. People were shocked when they saw what had happened to Maya. Many parents called the television stations to say they were angry that a police officer could hurt a child and lie about it. The video was also posted on the internet where millions of people saw it. People from all over the country shared the video and wrote angry comments about Officer Bradley. Famous athletes and movie stars posted messages supporting Maya and her family. Marcus's phone rang all day with calls from people who wanted to help. Some offered to donate money for Maya's medical bills. Others wanted to organize protests against the police department. Marcus was grateful for the support, but he wanted to keep the focus on getting justice through the legal system. That evening, Captain Morrison called an emergency meeting at the police station. He was angry that the video had been made public. For weeks he had been telling everyone that Maya Johnson was lying about what happened. Now there was video proof that she had been telling the truth. Officer Bradley sat in Captain Morrison's office looking worried. He had not expected anyone to have video of what happened. He thought he could lie about the incident, and everyone would believe him because he was a police officer. "This is a problem," Captain Morrison said. "The video makes you look bad. People are going to want you to be punished." Officer Bradley felt scared for the first time since he hurt Maya. He had always been protected by other police officers when people complained about him. But this time was different because there was video evidence. "What should I do?" Bradley asked. Captain Morrison thought for a moment. He wanted to protect Officer Bradley, but he also had to think about protecting the whole police department. "We need to control the damage," Morrison said. "Maybe we can say the video doesn't show everything that happened. Maybe we can say Maya was threatening you before the video started." "But people could see that Maya never fought back," Bradley said. Morrison was getting frustrated. He had spent years covering up for bad police officers, but this case was harder than the others. The mayor called Captain Morrison later that night. The mayor was angry because hundreds of people were calling City Hall demanding that Officer Bradley be arrested. The mayor was worried about riots if people thought the police department was protecting a cop who hurt children. "Morrison, you need to do something about this," the mayor said. "The whole city is angry about this video." Captain Morrison knew he was running out of options. He could not make the video disappear, and he could not change what it showed. The next morning, protesters gathered outside the police station. Most of them were parents who were angry that Officer Bradley was still working, while Maya was recovering from surgery. They carried signs that said "Justice for Maya" and "No more police violence." Marcus and Sarah Johnson came to the protest, but they did not make speeches or carry signs. Marcus believed in letting other people speak while he focused on the legal case, but his presence at the protest sent a message that he supported people who wanted justice for his daughter. Maya was still at home recovering from her surgery, but she watched the news coverage on television. She felt amazed that so many strangers cared about what had happened to her. For weeks she had felt alone and scared. Now she felt like she had thousands of people supporting her. Jessica and Tamara visited Maya after school that day. They told her about how other students at Lincoln High were talking about the video and supporting her. "Everyone knows you were telling the truth," Jessica said. "Even kids who don't know you are angry about what that officer did." Maya felt happy to have such good friends. She also felt proud that she had been brave enough to tell the truth even when the police tried to make her look like a criminal. That evening, David Chen got a phone call that changed everything. The caller was a lawyer who worked for the city government. "We want to discuss a settlement for Maya Johnson," the lawyer said. David was surprised. Just a few days ago, the police were saying Maya was a criminal. Now they wanted to pay money to make the case go away. "What kind of settlement?" David asked. The city lawyer mentioned a large amount of money. It was enough to pay for Maya's medical bills and her college education. "We'll think about it," David said. "But any settlement has to include Officer Bradley being fired and charged with assault." The city lawyer was quiet for a moment. "That might be difficult," he said. David smiled even though the other lawyer couldn't see him. "Then there won't be any settlement," he said. "We'll see you in court." Marcus was proud when David told him about the phone call. The fact that the city wanted to settle meant they knew Officer Bradley was guilty. But Marcus didn't want just money. He wanted Officer Bradley to be punished so he could never hurt another child. The video had changed everything. Now the whole world could see that Maya Johnson was an innocent victim and Officer Bradley was a liar who hurt children. The fight for justice was far from over, but Maya's family finally had hope that the truth would win. The police union hired the most expensive lawyer they could find to defend Officer Bradley. His name was Robert Sterling, and he was famous for helping police officers avoid punishment when they hurt innocent people. Sterling was a tall man with gray hair who wore expensive suits and charged $500 per hour. Sterling held his own press conference the day after Maya's video was shown on television. He stood outside the courthouse wearing a dark blue suit and looking very serious. "Officer Bradley is a good police officer who has served this city for 12 years, Sterling said to the reporters. "He was doing his job when he was attacked by Maya Johnson. The video you saw doesn't show everything that happened. It doesn't show Maya threatening Officer Bradley before the camera started recording." The reporters asked Sterling hard questions about the video. They wanted to know how Maya could have been threatening anyone when she was just walking to a bus stop with her friends. "Maya Johnson is bigger and stronger than she looks," Sterling said. Officer Bradley felt threatened and used only the force necessary to protect himself. Unfortunately, Maya was injured, but that was her own fault for attacking a police officer. Patricia Williams from Channel 7 News asked Sterling about Officer Bradley's history of complaints. "Those complaints were all investigated and found to be false," Sterling said. "Some people like to blame police officers when they get arrested for breaking the law. Officer Bradley has always been cleared of any wrongdoing." But Sterling was just getting started with his attacks on Maya and her family. He hired private investigators to dig up dirt on the Johnson family. The investigators looked for any mistake Marcus or Sarah had ever made that could be used against them. The investigators found out that Marcus had been arrested once when he was 18 years old for getting in a fight outside a nightclub. The charges had been dropped and Marcus had never been in trouble since then. But Sterling told reporters about the old arrest anyway. Marcus Johnson has a history of violence, Sterling told the newspapers. He was arrested for assault when he was young. Now he's teaching his daughter to be violent too. Maya Johnson learned to attack police officers from her father. Marcus felt angry when he saw Sterling's lies on television, but David Chen told him to stay calm. This is what they always do, David explained. When they can't defend their officer, they try to attack the victim's family instead. People are smart enough to see through these lies. But Sterling had more attacks planned. He hired people to spread rumors about Maya on social media. They created fake accounts and posted messages saying Maya was in a gang and sold drugs at school. They said she had been arrested before and was lying about being a good student. Maya was hurt and confused when she saw the lies about herself online. She had never been in trouble at school and had never even tried drugs. She did not understand why people were saying such terrible things about her. "Mom, why are they lying about me?" Maya asked Sarah with tears in her eyes. Sarah held her daughter close and tried to explain something she did not fully understand herself. "Baby, they're lying because they're scared," Maya said. "The video shows everyone that you're telling the truth. So now they're trying to make people think bad things about you so they won't believe the video." The attacks got worse when Sterling found out about Marcus's boxing gym. Sterling told the newspapers that Marcus was teaching young men to be violent and fight against police officers. Marcus Johnson runs a boxing gym where he trains criminals and gang members, Sterling said on television. He's teaching these young men to hate police officers and fight back when they get arrested. This lie made Marcus more angry than anything else Sterling had said. Marcus's gym was like a second home to dozens of young men who might have gotten in trouble without boxing to keep them busy. Many of his former students had gone to college or gotten good jobs because Marcus had believed in them. The young boxers at Marcus's gym were angry too when they heard Sterling's lies. They wanted to defend their coach, but Marcus told them to stay focused on their training. "Don't let these lies distract you from what's important," Marcus told his students. "We're going to win this fight by staying disciplined and telling the truth." But the attacks were starting to hurt Marcus's business. Some parents stopped bringing their children to the gym because they were afraid of the negative publicity. A few sponsors canceled their agreements to support young boxers who trained with Marcus. Sarah was having problems at her job too. She worked as a nurse at a local hospital, and some of her coworkers were starting to treat her differently. A few people whispered that maybe Maya really had attacked Officer Bradley. They said maybe the Johnson family was just trying to get money by suing the police. The worst part was when someone started making threatening phone calls to the Johnson house. The caller always hung up when someone answered, but Maya could hear angry voices in the background. Sarah was so scared that she asked Marcus to change their phone number. Someone also threw a rock through the window of Maya's bedroom while she was sleeping. Maya woke up to the sound of breaking glass and started crying. Marcus called the police, but they said they could not find who had thrown the rock. Even Maya's school became a difficult place for her. Most of the students and teachers supported Maya, but a few people believed the lies that Sterling was spreading. Some kids whispered mean things about Maya when she walked down the hallways. Jessica and Tamara tried to protect their friend, but it was hard when there were so many lies being told about Maya. The two girls also started getting bothered by people who wanted to know what they had seen that day. David Chen warned Marcus that things would probably get worse before they got better. "This is how the system protects bad police officers," David explained. "They try to destroy the reputation of anyone who speaks out against them. They want to make you so miserable that you'll give up and go away." Marcus looked at his lawyer with determination in his eyes. "They picked the wrong family to mess with," Marcus said. "I didn't become champion by giving up when things got tough. They can lie about us all they want, but we're going to keep fighting until we get justice for Maya." But Marcus was worried about how the attacks were affecting his family. Maya was having nightmares and Sarah was losing weight from stress. Marcus wondered if he was being selfish by putting his family through this pain just to prove a point. One evening, Maya came to Marcus while he was sitting in his home office looking at legal papers. "Daddy," she said quietly, "maybe we should just forget about this. I don't like people saying bad things about our family." Marcus looked at his daughter's sad face and felt his heart breaking. He pulled Maya onto his lap like he used to do when she was little. "Baby girl," Marcus said, "I know this is hard, but if we give up now, Officer Bradley will hurt other children. Do you want another little girl to have her arm broken like yours was?" Maya thought about that for a moment. She remembered how much pain she had felt when her arm broke. She remembered how scared she had been in the hospital. She did not want any other child to go through what she had experienced. "No, Daddy," Maya said. "I don't want him to hurt anyone else." "Then we have to keep fighting," Marcus said. "I promise you that all these lies will stop when we prove Officer Bradley is guilty. People will see that we were telling the truth all along." That night, Marcus called David Chin to talk about their strategy. "David," he said, "these attacks are hurting my family. How much longer do we have to put up with this?" David sighed before he answered. "Marcus, I wish I could tell you it will get easier, but Sterling is just getting started. He's going to do everything he can to make you look bad before we get to court." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke with the same determination that had made him a champion. "Let him do his worst," Marcus said. "At the end of the day, we have the truth on our side. That's more powerful than all his lies put together." The lies and attacks against the Johnson family made many people in the community angry. They had watched Marcus Johnson fight in boxing rings for years, and they knew he was a good man. They had seen him help young people and give money to charity. They did not believe the terrible things Robert Sterling was saying about Marcus and Maya. Dr. Williams was Maya's music teacher at Lincoln High School. She had taught Maya for 3 years and knew she was one of the kindest students in the school. When Dr. Williams heard people saying Maya was violent and in a gang, she decided to speak out. Dr. Williams called Channel 7 News and asked to be interviewed about Maya. She sat in her classroom surrounded by musical instruments and spoke directly to the camera. "Maya Johnson is one of the best students I have ever taught," she said. "She is polite, respectful, and talented. She has never been in any kind of trouble at school. Anyone who says Maya is violent or criminal is lying." Other teachers from Lincoln High School also called the television station to defend Maya. Her math teacher said Maya tutored younger students who were having trouble with their homework. Her English teacher said Maya wrote essays about wanting to help other people. Her gym teacher said Maya was always encouraging to classmates who were not good at sports. The stories from Maya's teachers were shown on the evening news. People watching at home could see that Maya was nothing like the person Robert Sterling was describing. Marcus's boxing gym became a meeting place for people who wanted to help the Johnson family. Many of Marcus's former students came to show their support for their old coach. Some of these men were now successful businessmen and community leaders. Tony Rodriguez had trained with Marcus 15 years ago, when Tony was heading toward trouble with the law. Marcus had kept Tony busy with boxing training instead of letting him hang around with gang members. Now Tony owned 3 restaurants and employed over 50 people. "Coach Marcus saved my life," Tony told the reporters who came to the gym. "If it wasn't for him, I would probably be in prison or dead. He teaches young men to be responsible and work hard. Anyone who says he promotes violence doesn't know what they're talking about." Similar stories came from dozens of Marcus's former students. They talked about how Marcus had helped them stay in school, finish college, and find good jobs. They talked about how Marcus had been like a father to young men who didn't have fathers at home. The gym started raising money to help with Maya's legal expenses. Marcus didn't want to take charity, but David Chen explained that fighting Officer Bradley in court would cost a lot of money. Sterling was being paid by the police union, which had millions of dollars to spend on lawyers. Local businesses started donating money and services to help the Johnson family. Garcia's restaurant provided free meals for the family and their legal team. Thompson's auto shop fixed Marcus's car for free when it broke down. Martinez Construction offered to repair the broken window in Maya's bedroom without charge. The most important help came from other families who had been hurt by Officer Bradley. When they saw Maya's video on television, they realized they were not alone. Other parents came forward to tell their stories about how Bradley had mistreated their children. Mrs. Davis was a single mother whose 16-year-old son had been stopped by Officer Bradley 6 months before Maya was hurt. Bradley had claimed the boy was selling drugs, even though he was just walking home from his job at a grocery store. Bradley had searched the boy roughly and called him names, but had not found any drugs. "I was too scared to file a complaint," Mrs. Davis said. "I thought no one would believe me against a police officer. But when I saw what he did to Maya, I knew I had to speak up." Mr. and Mrs. Chen told a similar story about their daughter being harassed by Officer Bradley when she was walking in the same neighborhood where Maya was hurt. Their daughter was an honor student, but Bradley had treated her like a criminal just because she was Asian and walking in a mostly white area. David Chen realized that these other victims could help prove that Officer Bradley had a pattern of targeting young people because of their race. The lawyer began collecting statements from all the families who had been hurt by Bradley. Maya felt better when she met other young people who had been mistreated by the same officer. She realized that Bradley's behavior had nothing to do with anything she had done wrong. He was just a bad police officer who enjoyed hurting people who couldn't fight back. The support from the community helped Maya's confidence grow stronger. She started speaking at meetings where people gathered to discuss police reform. Even though her arm was still in a cast, Maya spoke clearly about what had happened to her. "I want people." 6 months after Maya's arm was broken, the criminal trial against Officer Bradley finally began. The courthouse was packed with people who had come to support Maya and her family. Marcus sat in the front row wearing his best suit with Sarah beside him holding his hand. Maya sat between her parents looking nervous but determined. Her arm had healed completely, but she still remembered the terrible pain from that day. She had practiced telling her story many times with David Chen, so she would be ready when it was her turn to testify. Judge Martinez was a fair woman who had been a judge for 20 years. She had seen many cases involving police officers, and she knew how hard it was for victims to get justice. She was determined to make sure this trial was conducted fairly and that the truth would come out. Robert Sterling sat at the defense table with Officer Bradley. Sterling was confident that he could convince the jury that Maya had attacked the officer first. He had spent months preparing his case and attacking Maya's reputation. Officer Bradley looked different than he had 6 months ago. The stress of the trial had made him lose weight and his hair was turning gray. He knew that if he was convicted, he would go to prison and lose his job forever. David Chen sat at the other table with a pile of evidence and witness statements. He had worked day and night to build a strong case against Officer Bradley. David knew this was one of the most important trials of his career. The prosecutor helping David was Assistant District Attorney Lisa Rodriguez. She was a tough lawyer who specialized in cases involving police violence. Lisa had decided to personally handle this case because she believed Officer Bradley needed to be held accountable. Judge Martinez called the court to order and the trial began. Lisa Rodriguez stood up to give her opening statement to the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she said, looking directly at the 12 people who would decide Officer Bradley's fate. "This case is about a police officer who broke a 15-year-old girl's arm for no reason and then lied about it to protect himself." Lisa explained to the jury how Maya had been walking peacefully to a bus stop when Officer Bradley stopped her without cause. She described how Bradley had twisted Maya's arm until it broke in 2 places while Maya begged him to stop. "The evidence will show that Maya Johnson never attacked Officer Bradley," Lisa said. "The evidence will show that Officer Bradley used excessive force against an innocent child and then filed a false police report to cover up his crime." When Lisa finished, Robert Sterling stood up to give his opening statement. He looked at the jury with confidence and spoke in a loud, clear voice. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "Maya Johnson is not the innocent victim her family wants you to believe she is. Maya Johnson attacked a police officer who was doing his job. Officer Bradley used only the force necessary to protect himself from a violent teenager." Sterling told the jury that Maya was bigger and stronger than she looked. He said she had learned to be violent from her father, who was a professional boxer. He claimed the video evidence didn't show the whole story. The first witness Lisa Rodriguez called was Maya herself. Maya walked slowly to the witness stand and promised to tell the truth. She looked small sitting in the big chair, but her voice was strong when she began to speak. Maya told the jury exactly what had happened that day. She explained how she and her friends had been walking to the bus stop after school. She described how Officer Bradley had stopped them and accused them of being in the neighborhood to cause trouble. "I tried to be polite," Maya said. "I told him we went to school there and we were just going to catch the bus. But he got angry when I talked to him. He said I was talking back, and that made him mad." Maya's voice started to shake when she described how Officer Bradley had grabbed her arm. "He twisted my arm behind my back really hard," she said. "I asked him to stop because he was hurting me, but he just twisted harder. Then I heard this terrible cracking sound and I knew my arm was broken." Robert Sterling stood up to cross-examine Maya. He tried to make her look like she was lying, but Maya answered every question calmly and honestly. "Miss Johnson," Sterling said, "weren't you angry at Officer Bradley for stopping you?" "No, sir," Maya replied. "I was confused about why he stopped us, but I wasn't angry. I just wanted to go home." Sterling asked Maya many questions trying to confuse her or make her change her story, but Maya's answers never changed because she was telling the truth. The next witness was Jessica, Maya's best friend, who had seen everything happen. Jessica was nervous, but she told the jury exactly what she had witnessed. "Maya never tried to hurt Officer Bradley," Jessica said. "She was being polite and respectful the whole time. Officer Bradley was the one who was angry and mean." Tamara testified next and told the same story. Both girls said Maya had never fought back or tried to attack the officer. Mrs. Patterson was the most important witness. The elderly woman walked slowly to the witness stand carrying her cell phone. She told the jury how she had watched the incident from her apartment window. "I could see that poor child was not doing anything wrong," Mrs. Patterson said. "The police officer grabbed her for no reason and hurt her badly. I recorded it on my phone because I knew someone needed to see what really happened." David Chen played Mrs. Patterson's video for the jury on a big screen. The courtroom was completely quiet as everyone watched Officer Bradley twist Maya's arm until it broke. You could hear Maya crying and begging him to stop. Several jury members looked upset when they saw the video. One woman wiped tears from her eyes. A man shook his head in disgust at what Officer Bradley had done. Robert Sterling tried to argue that the video didn't show everything, but it was hard to explain away such clear evidence. Dr. Martinez testified about Maya's injuries. He showed the jury x-rays of Maya's broken bones and explained how much force it would take to cause such damage. "This type of fracture is usually seen in car accidents or serious falls," Dr. Martinez said. "It would take significant force applied in a twisting motion to break bones this way." The trial lasted for 2 weeks. Officer Bradley took the witness stand to defend himself, but his story kept changing. He claimed Maya had tried to hit him, but he couldn't explain why that wasn't shown in the video. Lisa Rodriguez asked Officer Bradley about his history of complaints from other young people. "You've been complained about 15 times in 5 years, haven't you, Officer Bradley?" she asked. "Those complaints were investigated and found to be false," Bradley said. But Lisa had brought some of those other victims to court. They testified that Officer Bradley had a pattern of targeting young people, especially minorities, and treating them roughly. In his closing argument, David Chen spoke directly to the jury about the importance of holding police officers accountable when they break the law. Officer Bradley thought he could hurt Maya Johnson and get away with it because she's just a 15-year-old girl, he said. He thought no one would believe her word against his. But we have video evidence that proves Maya was telling the truth and Officer Bradley was lying. Robert Sterling made one last attempt to convince the jury that Maya was the real criminal. "Don't be fooled by tears and sympathy," Sterling said. "Maya Johnson attacked a police officer and got hurt because of her own actions." But the jury had seen the video and heard the testimony. They knew who was telling the truth. After 2 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict. The foreman stood up and read the decision. We find the defendant, Officer James Bradley, guilty of assault in the second degree, guilty of filing a false police report, and guilty of violation of civil rights under color of law. Maya started crying when she heard the word guilty. Marcus put his arm around his daughter and held her close. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. They had waited so long for this moment. Judge Martinez sentenced Officer Bradley to 5 years in prison. She also ordered him to pay for Maya's medical expenses and banned him from ever working as a police officer again. Officer Bradley was led away in handcuffs. His career was over, and he would spend the next 5 years thinking about how he had destroyed his life by hurting an innocent child. Outside the courthouse, hundreds of people celebrated the victory. Maya spoke to the crowd with her parents beside her. "This verdict shows that no one is above the law," Maya said. "Not even police officers who think they can hurt people without consequences." Marcus looked at his daughter with pride. Maya had grown from a scared 15-year-old into a strong young woman who had faced down injustice and won. The fight for justice was finally over. Maya Johnson had proven that even when powerful people try to silence the truth, courage and determination can win in the end.